There's a power for good in the universe. It lifts your life to its highest level. It brings success, companionship, happiness, health, and peace of mind. As you tap into this power, it will respond to you because this power is within you. And that's why spirituality rocks. Welcome. I'm your host, Janine Burns, and I have a very exciting show for you today on energetic healing and spiritual mind healing. In our show, Spirituality Rocks, we teach New Thought spiritual principle. New Thought believes that there's a power within you, the creative power of the universe, creative intelligence, God, whatever you choose to call this power, that it's active within you, and that your thoughts and beliefs draw and attract people, circumstances, and events into your life. I am a New Thought minister, and I particularly do crisis work. I work with people doing weddings. I do memorial services, and I love to travel and give inspirational talks. And my favorite thing right now is this show, Spirituality Rocks, because each week I get to bring you a little inspiration and some fantastic people who can really talk about these New Thought ideas. I invite you to go on the internet and check out newthought.org, newthought.com, and you can learn more about New Thought. Today we're talking about spiritual healing. And the fundamental focus of all metaphysical teachings is spiritual healing. But what really is spiritual healing? Most people think spiritual healing is faith healing, but it's not. Faith healing has to do with an unquestioned belief in some great God out there or some power out there, some anthropomorphic being, where spiritual healing is the recognition and acceptance of the power of God, the power of infinite intelligence that is within the individual. And so spiritual healing then removes distorted beliefs and ideas that have appeared to separate the person from their experience of wholeness, from the experience of peace and freedom and ease and joy. And so New Thought teaches spiritual mind healing. And in this process, we don't deal with unquestioned beliefs, or we don't deal with any holy person or religious person or any sacred rites. We deal directly with the truth of our being, that we are one. We are all one presence, one power in the universe. And so we use what's called spiritual mind treatment. That's affirmative prayer. And that's the way to neutralize and dissolve inner patterns that can bring outer experiences of discord or disorder or disease or any disturbance in the human condition. Universal law is the process. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. And that is the result of using what's called the law of mind. And so disease is always the result of using the creative process, the law of the creative process in a distorted way. Why? Because inner patterns of consciousness, inner patterns of awareness will inevitably appear in the outer world of experience. And so in spiritual healing, you become conscious of the truth that you're one. You are one with an infinite, internal, ongoing, creative intelligence that moves through this creative power. There is a power greater than you are, and it's all around you, and it flows through you right now. And you can ask for help, and this power will respond. But you must first ask to receive. And in New Thought, what we do is ask via what's called spiritual mind treatment, where we literally treat our mind and spiritualize it, treat it to a new thought. Now, treatment, it's a form of affirmative prayer that was used by Dr. Ernest Holmes, who was the founder of the philosophy of science of mind. He wrote the book by the same title. And he authored many metaphysical works. Ernest Holmes taught that there's a scientific reasoning underlying all prayer, and through this process of reasoning that we treat our own minds about the subject of our particular prayer. So prayer, when used, does nothing to God. Actually, what it does is bring the one praying to the realization of the presence and power of God, and that with God all things are possible, that God is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and omniaction. And so in the method, we start by recognizing that God is all there is. And you name this presence and power as many attributes as you can think. Spirit, infinite intelligence, divine love, total peace. It's always the same. This presence and power is timeless, it's changeless, it's everywhere present and completely powerful to heal and renew you in any situation in your life. The next step is unifying with this power, knowing that you are one, knowing you can say, I am infinite intelligence, I am deep peace, I am unconditional love, I am courage, I am harmony, I am joy. And knowing that you have within you all the answers needed because you have God as your source. The next step in this affirmative prayer process is realization. And so when you have this experience, this deepening, this richness of the first two steps in affirmative prayer, then the third step is the declaration of the truth that you choose to experience. What is it that you want in your life? Is it peace of mind? Is it health? Is it a significant other? Is it greater success, more prosperity? You're not asking for anything. This prayer is not about begging, cajoling, or pleading. What you are doing is declaring and affirming that it is the absolute truth and that it's already done. Even if it doesn't appear that way in the natural, in the human experience, you say the affirmative prayer as if it is already true right now. The next step is thanksgiving, where you offer gratitude for the successful completion of your prayer. And you give thanks for the realization that the treatment and that there's a perfect outworking of spiritual law which responds to your thoughts and words. The final step in affirmative prayer is when we release. And that's what we do, is we just release and let it go. Release it to spirit. You've done your work. Let the law do its work in you, through you, and as you, and all around you. And that's when you never know how circumstances, people, and events come into your life. In fact, that's how I met both of my guests. I was praying for healing. And when I prayed for healing, I came upon Ellen Kratka, who is a Yun method master. She's also works with something called the Healing Codes by Dr. Alex Lloyd. She's a certified practitioner. So after doing my prayer work, I met this wonderful woman who I've been working with to make significant changes in my life. And of course, Reverend Kathy Caputo, who you've seen before on Spirituality Rocks, she is a spiritual mind practitioner. And a spiritual mind practitioner is someone who is versed in spiritual mind treatment. And I have asked Kathy to do affirmative prayer for me before. And so when you're facing a challenge or a problem, it's always a blessing to be in the presence of someone who unconditionally believes in you and unconditionally believes that there is an incredible and amazing power that is strong and capable despite any conditions that we may be experiencing. And that, what a great gift to know that that person has studied universal principles and they've used them in their own life to transcend conditions, and that they're skillful in using it in the lives of others. And so with Kathy, she uses prayer as a transformative tool. And so when there are those times when you can't see the truth in your own life, when you know you're confused or you're befuddled or you've had an emergency situation, that's when you call in a practitioner, or that's when you call in someone like Ellen Kratka to support you and help you. And that's what these practitioners do. They are committed to always deepening their own sense of the divine presence, of the energy and power that is spirit. And over the years in New Thought, there have been countless demonstrations, countless people who've experienced healings in every aspect of their life. So I am thrilled today to, right after our commercial break, to introduce to you the Reverend Kathy Caputo of the Center for Spiritual Living in Hicksville, and Ellen Kratka, who you can check out her website at www.resultsbeyondbelief.com. We'll talk more about it right after our commercial break.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
Are you planning an event and want to include entertainment, but you're not sure where to turn? Act1Entertainment.net has provided over 1,500 events with quality, affordable live entertainment at private parties, corporate affairs, festivals, bike rallies, and more. Act 1 will fit into your budget. They're friendly, reliable, and do all the legwork for you. They take all major credit cards. Log on to Act1Entertainment.net for a free, no-obligation price quote or call 631-758-3505 for a brochure. You'll be happy you did.
Hey, I'm Tom Mealy from the Harrison Law Group. You know, soft tissue injury, that's no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. Don't waste valuable time going to firms who don't get it and can't do it. Call 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Welcome to Formula Auto Wash, where every day is a great day for a car wash. Open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Sundays 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Detailing packages for every budget, starting out at $29.99. 100% hand wash and detail centre. Hog's hair and microfiber brushes and mitts. Proudly using Ecolab Blue Coral soaps and waxes. Formula Auto Wash has served the community for over 30 years. Senior discounts all day, every day. Ladies' Day Wednesday, $3 off any wash. Early bird discount Monday through Thursday till 9:30 a.m. Check out our website, formulaautowash.com.
I think this is a good time to tell you. You're doing okay, Mom. I can call you Mom, right? I know we haven't known each other very long, but you seem like a real keeper. You're not perfect. There was that strained carrots incident, but you're trying. You pick up my bottle every time I toss it out of my stroller. That's high comedy to an 8-month-old. You hum the Barber of Seville when you wash my hair. So cool. And your rub-downs are out of this world. Anyway, I want you to know how much I appreciate you. You know, right? How much I love you? You're doing okay, Mom.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my...
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, and we are filming live from the Madhouse TV studios in Deer Park, Long Island, New York. On the phone with me today is our guest from Connecticut, Ellen Kratka. Ellen is a certified healing codes practitioner and Yun method master, and she's also created some of her own healing modalities. She's both a practitioner and trainer of these methods, and in the studio with me is the Reverend Kathy Caputo of the Center for Spiritual Healing in Hicksville, New York. Welcome both ladies.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Delighted to have you both. Delighted to have you both. We had a little issue with Skype, so we're working with Ellen over the phone today, and which is wonderful that we have her with us. So thanks for being here. Ellen, I'd like to start with you, and this is an open dialogue. This is a discussion. Ellen, tell me, how did you get into this work?
Well, I'd actually been doing various kinds of what you would call energy healing for the past about 15 years. Before that, I did life coaching with a specific emphasis on helping people with their life purpose. Before that, I had worked with nutrition. So a lot of self-improvement work, and part of the reason that I was doing that was because I had a lot of issues going on in my own life and was looking for help. And because I think I sort of came into this lifetime to teach, everything that I would learn that worked for me, that made sense, that helped me, I ended up passing on. And I, little by little, built a practice. a practice of helping others and teaching others some of what I did. And then over the past, about a decade, I started coming in contact with other ways of doing things that I would say are not energy healing in the traditional way we think of that, and I can explain that more later if you wish. But they just felt it really resonated with me, something deep inside. It felt familiar. It felt really powerful and different, and like I'd found some missing keys. And so more and more I've been focusing on those aspects of working with people to improve their lives.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. And Kathy, tell us a bit about your work as a practitioner.
Sure. As a practitioner, as you mentioned before, I do pray for people on affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, and what we know in ourselves, we know for everyone because we are all connected. And when we know the truth, then there's nothing else that can remain. There can be nothing other than the perfection of God when you know that truth for yourself or someone else.
So what is the truth then?
The truth is that you are one with the infinite life that is Spirit, God, the Creator, whatever you would like to call that which made you. And when you align with what Spirit is, what God is, then you are living that, and that is the perfection. That is our truth. Everything else that comes into our lives that looks like lack, loss, limitation, disease, illness is not a truth. It's an experience. It's a condition. But conditions can change by changing your belief, by changing what you're thinking about. And that can change like that when you turn your beliefs, your words, and your thinking around.
So how exactly do we do that?
Well, we do that by, there's steps that you actually went through that I think are wonderful. And sometimes you can do it in one step by just saying, I am, and knowing that I am one with God. And just that feeling of knowing that you are one with God can give you that feeling of empowerment that you can go out and do anything.
Okay, I think probably what it needs to start with, though, is to really understanding this power, because I think a lot of people believe, the Bible says God is love. That's the only place that it says God is love, and love is an energy. So in New Thought, we believe that God is infinite intelligence. It's an energy, an essence, a presence, a power. So I think we need to begin with understanding, have a deepening understanding of that, and then have an identity with that.
With that.
And so that's spiritual mind healing.
And that's what you do in treatment. You first recognize, you know what God is. You name what God is to you. And then you unify with that. You say, and I am one with it.
Right.
So there's that unification with that which made you out of itself. And then you talk about, you name what your truth is.
Okay.
And again, it might not be that you're experiencing that truth yet, but you're bringing your mind to understand that that is your truth.
Okay, okay, terrific. Now, Ellen, by the way, has been in New Thought for over 30 years. But Ellen's work has gone beyond spiritual mind healing into energetic healing. So, Ellen, talk to us.
Yeah, I would actually correct that, because what I'm doing primarily now, when people think about energy healing, they're thinking of transmitting energy or doing something specifically to shift the energy, and that's not primarily what I'm doing anymore.
Okay.
And what I'm doing is actually much more in alignment with spiritual mind treatments.
Tell us more.
So what I'm doing, you talk about the truth and lies, and most people have, or pretty much everyone I've ever met, has some kind of layering of specific lies and the experiences that went along with them and the associations that go along with them that are acting on their being, on their energy field.
Do you mean the feelings? Could you explain that a little more? Do you mean the feelings?
Well, for example, you could think of a belief. Somebody has an experience happen to them, and they develop a belief which may be very subconscious that says, I don't deserve what I want.
Okay.
Or they could have another, it's not always a mental lie. Sometimes it could be a physical weakness, which is a kind of lie that is created with them. And I say lie because it is a separation of themselves from oneness, from from God, from Source. And so whenever we separate ourselves and shut down a part of our being, that's a kind of lie as well. And something like that may have happened, for example, because they experienced a trauma, and at the time of the trauma, maybe their parent also yelled at them, and so the energy of the trauma got kind of encapsulated in their energy system and was not released, and it's created a place of weakness within their being.
Oh. Okay,
and so once we have a place of weakness, then all kinds of other things accumulate there. We continue to have more experiences. They could be physical things like accidents, or negative things like over and over we have bad relationships, or whatever it is that seem to confirm there's a problem, but we don't realize that the problem is actually that little energetic glitch. It's literally the shut off of a switch within our biocomputer that took place because of the original experience that was interpreted in this way that was separate from our own divinity.
Ooh.
They kept us separate.
Exactly. Oh, that's deep. That's huge, and that's deep. And so, let's see if we could say that again. So what we're saying is that, let's say as a child or something, you had some kind of incident, some kind of experience, some kind of a trauma that you interpreted in such a fashion that caused an energetic weakness because of let's say, the trauma of the experience.
Yeah, and it may have just been fear, that you got a little bit overwhelmed with fear and you were never able to shake that off.
Okay.
That's possible.
Right. So
there's also a lot of influences on us from our connection to other beings' energies, whether they're living or passed on, parents, friends, teachers, whoever. And so there's a lot of input coming into our energy field, and some of it because of the way we interact with it, again, because we haven't fully realized our divine power and immensity and love and everything that we are entitled to. If somebody, if there's some reason why somebody is not fully aware of that and flowing within that, then one of those things could literally shut down an aspect of their being.
And then when that aspect of being is shut down, then because of the belief system, then I'm asking this question, then because of the belief system, then do you attract more of that circumstance and event to sort of prove it?
Right, you do. It's kind of like it becomes very sticky to other things like it. It's like if you have some dust in your house, it starts accumulating more dust, and before you know it, there's a big dust bunny or, a big pile there. But it's not always mental. Sometimes there are beliefs involved, and sometimes it's just other aspects of our being that may be non-conscious, or maybe at the purely emotional level, or, at the level of a particular actual physical shock to our system, like an injury. So it's not always the belief system. It is, however, common that we layer beliefs on top of our experience because, we are beings who interpret our world and our experience.
Okay,
so we tend to develop beliefs about, what's going on.
Okay, so then let's say as a little child, you were in some kind of circumstance and you took out of that because you made an error and somebody hollered at you, you took out of it that I am stupid.
Sure.
Okay.
Right. That's a great example.
Okay. And then you go through life, and then because you have that belief, then when you show up to a circumstance, you're not going to meet your full potential because that belief is not only stuck in there mentally, but there's also an energetic connection to it.
Right. Correct. So when I work with somebody, what I'm doing is I'm feeling and seeing into their energy field, feeling for exactly which places have these switches that have been turned off. And just literally by acknowledging and connecting with that and whatever the reason is, and very often at this point I don't even need to know the reason, but just connecting with that sense of disconnection that they're having, then the switch gets turned back on.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
So the belief may have been one component. There may have been others, like maybe they didn't recognize that there was a constant chronic pain in their body, and that shifts, or their sense of well-being or connection to people shifts. So, there can be lots of impacts from it. And there can be lots of layers of, what's keeping it in place. Again, the beliefs can be one, but there can be other things. And basically it just comes down to, what the weaknesses are within the energy field,
right,
or the places of disconnection.
And how do you identify them? I mean, because when I worked with you, I didn't really have very much conversation at all. It wasn't like a psychological counseling or a spiritual counseling session where I told you this was my experience and on about it. I just merely talked for maybe a minute and told you where I wanted to experience some changes. So how do you identify, and then how do you do the process?
So as energetic beings, we are tuning into other people all the time.
Right.
Some of us have just developed more of an awareness of it, and the more we use it, the more we tune into it, the clearer it gets. And in fact, we were talking about this before with Kathy and some of the work that she does, where, as her awareness of what's going on is becoming clearer and clearer. So sometimes I'll feel it in my body, connecting with your body or what's going on. Sometimes I may see an image of something that actually happened, or an image that's symbolic of what's going on energetically. Sometimes I'll hear some things, but it's whatever senses come in that are really just connected to a deep knowing, because I'm connected with and tracking what's happening energetically within you or whoever I'm working with.
So the process then is highly intuitive.
Yeah. And it's funny, we're talking about spiritual mind treatments, and I've always loved spiritual mind treatments and religious science and the approach to, understanding ourselves and who we are. And yet the one change, that I would make if I were going to make a change would be, or the one thing I would add would be that one of the best things we can do with our minds is to let go of the way we typically use our mind. So we typically use our mind to think about things. And when we allow that to, when we let go of that even to a little bit, small degree, and we connect with just what we're feeling in our bodies, then we can connect to our intuition, which is a higher function of mind. And so we're not really coming from a mental place. We're coming from, a much higher connection to our spiritual being, and all of the information and all of the changes can more easily flow through us.
Well, this is one juicy conversation. So what I heard you just say then is, as we stop the mental process of, discern, evaluate, judge, compare, etc., and be present in what we're feeling in our body, we can intuitively connect more. Is that what I heard you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, this is one juicy conversation. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I'm excited to have in the studio today the Reverend Kathy Caputo of the Center for Spiritual Living. She's a practitioner there. It's over in Hicksville, New York. And on the phone with us is Ellen Kratka. Ellen is a Yun method master. She's also with the Healing Coach. She's a practitioner with the Healing Coach. And you can connect with Ellen with resultsbeyondbelief.com. That's resultsbeyondbelief.com. We're going to be back right after this commercial break and more juicy conversation on Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am
Huntington Toyota, the experience of a lifetime. Don't take our word for it.
The experience for me at Huntington Toyota made me feel very comfortable.
It's their professionalism, their honesty, and their integrity. I've bought at least 9 or 10 cars here at Huntington Toyota. They give me the best price around.
It never was about high pressure. It never was about them. It was always about us.
Today's cars are very similar, but Huntington Toyota is very different.
Huntington Toyota, where it's all about you.
Like so many people, are your finances tight lately? Afraid to open your mail or even answer your phone? Well, take heart. You don't have to live like that. If you're 62 or older and own your own home, You can join the thousands of folks who have used safe and effective government-insured reverse mortgages. The government-insured reverse mortgages from Long Island's Senior Reverse Network allow you to stay in your home and turn equity into tax-free cash. Our government-insured reverse mortgages can eliminate mortgage payments, credit card balances, or just improve your lifestyle. Do yourself a favor and solve these problems now. Call the Senior Reverse Network, and our advisors will answer all of your questions about our reverse mortgage programs. We've helped scores of senior Long Island homeowners like you who now enjoy a worry-free retirement. Get the financial security and peace of mind you've dreamed about. Pick up the phone and call us at the Senior Reverse Network now to set up a free consultation.
Call 1-800-985-REVERSE. That's 1-800-985-7383.
Hey, I'm Tom Mealy from the Harrison Law Group. You know, soft tissue injury, that's no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. Don't waste valuable time going to firms who don't get it and can't do it. Call 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow.
Welcome back to our juicy conversation on Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, delighted to be here today to talk about healing. We're talking about spiritual mind healing and just healing in general and how we can heal and what blocks us from healing. In the studio I have with me is the Reverend Kathy Caputo. She is from the Center for Spiritual Living, Hicksville, Long Island, New York. And on our phone is Ellen Kratka. Ellen is a Yun Method Master, as well as she's a practitioner of the Healing Codes. Ellen can be reached at resultsbeyondbelief.com. And how can we reach you, Kathy? Do you want to give us a phone number or an email?
Sure. An email would be katqcap@aol.com.
KATQCAP
at AOL.com.
Okay,
my
fantastic.
maiden name was Quigley.
Oh, I see. And also they can connect with you at the Center of Spiritual Living in Hicksville, New York.
Right.
Also, I invited the viewers, you want to check out more about New Thought? Go to newthought.com. You will see Dr. Harry Morgan Moses, who will be with us on our show in 2 weeks, or newthought.org. And newthought.org, you can learn all about the affiliated New Thought Network. I've been a member for over 20 years. I'm on their big conference planning committee. I'm going to tell you more about that in future shows. But right now, let's go back to talking about healing. And Kathy, tell us more about this therapeutic touch that we spoke of very briefly.
Sure. At one point, many, many years ago, when I was a child, I wanted to be a nurse.
Yes.
And I was much too sensitive at the time. And I didn't go through with that. And I went into many other different things, but I always loved
sensitive
healing.
Meaning, sensitive
meaning, I would come home and I would think about the people I was taking care of, couldn't go to sleep.
Got it.
So I said, I guess this isn't for me at this point. And so I was always interested in healing. But later on in life, I heard about therapeutic touch, which was started by a professor of nursing at NYU and a natural healer named Dora Coons.
Oh, okay.
And they taught nurses how to use their hands to, there she is, to actually feel the energy field that you can feel 2 to 6 inches from your body. And we learned how to just balance that energy if we felt that there was an imbalance. And it was something that was also very intuitive. And because you are one, whatever intention you had to move the energy, that would actually happen. And a person would normally get a relaxation response from it.
I see.
And many times when you're relaxed, as Ellen said, when you let go, that's when their healing process started.
The natural healing that is within you.
So the person doing it is not the healer.
Right.
The person doing it is the catalyst for the person's own healing abilities to start.
That's the nature of spirit within us. Renewal, revitalization. That's the natural process.
Right.
Ellen, we've got you on Skype. Woohoo!
Fantastic.
Yes, we see you now. Ladies and gentlemen, Ellen Kratka live on Skype. So, Ellen, you told me earlier that most people think what is causing the problem is not the real cause. Can you explain what you mean and what is the real cause of why people don't always heal?
Sure. The reason I say that is because generally the things that we are aware of are no longer what is causing the remaining problem.
Okay.
And the reason that, the way it works, or the reason that happens, is because we're talking about a kind of communication that goes on at all levels of our being, you know, within ourselves and between us and God and between us and other people. And so, you know, energy is a process of something is put out and then something is received back. Something is put out, something is received back, and that's a kind of communication. And so when there is a problem, you know, one of these glitches or shutting down or turned off switches in the energy field, there's a part of us that is wanting to have that acknowledged, and not just acknowledge that there's a problem, but what its real cause is. And it's been trying to tell us what the cause is often for a long time. And so when we finally recognize that and hear it, the entire being goes, yes, thank you. And Janine, you were describing something similar that had happened with you where I said something and you felt, you know, some kind of energy shift or something happening in your body. So when, to the degree that we have already recognized certain things and acknowledged them and have worked on them, then there's already been the shift that was going to happen because of those things. And if the problem is still remaining, it's because there are aspects that we have not yet found the causes for.
Right.
So, you know, there are parts that are waiting to be heard.
Yeah. And I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show that I have been working with Ellen.
Yes.
And doing something called the healing codes. But while doing the healing codes, because Ellen is a Yun method master, she's also been doing that technique. But tell us a little bit about the healing code so people can know what it is and understand what it is, please.
Sure, absolutely. Sorry, I was just checking my sound. The healing code is a method of using both information, and another way we can say that is intention, along with energy, actual energy that you are sending into key control centers of the brain to support your intention to make the changes in your body or your mind or whatever you're working on. So there's a certain identification that happens of at least some of what the causes are for the problem, and then you are sitting with receiving the energy to support you in expanding yourself, because that's really what's going on in all of this. There's an expansion into that larger sense of who I am, what is possible, my, you know, ownership of all the divine qualities, I like to call it return to the divine template. So with the healing codes, you're actually using the tips of your fingers to send energy into these different control centers.
And so when you send energy into these individual centers, and then it's actually called a code, and the spots that I've learned are there the temples, it's the bridge, it's the jaw, and the Adam's apple. So Ellen develops the code based upon what she's discerned, and so perhaps one hand might be on the temple and the other one might be on the Adam's apple. The left hand might be on the jaw and the right hand might be on the bridge, or they both might be on the jaw or the bridge or whatever. So when someone's doing that with their hands, what do they need to be doing mentally? Do they need to do anything at all, or just hold the intention for the particular healing? What do they need to be doing?
Well, there are several things that can help. The first is actually people doing the healing codes usually begin with a prayer, and so they could use any particular type of prayer that they wanted, including a spiritual mind treatment, or they could just turn it into an intention statement. And that part of the process is used a little bit as a brain dump, meaning, you know, I just want to express all the things or the thing that I really want healing for so that I can then set it aside and not focus on the problem. Then during the healing code process, as part of the process is to connect with whatever feels deeply true and also comforting, meaning that there is a relaxation and or assurance that comes up when we say certain words. So in the healing code system, those are referred to as truth-focused statements. So a truth in the moment that also allows for a letting go of the stress, or realizing that there is something bigger, that I am headed toward a solution, and that supports people in that process. their bodies and just being with whatever they're feeling.
Yeah.
Because when we allow ourselves to feel without judgment, again, there's a relaxation happens, a natural letting go and expansion as opposed to criticizing ourselves or trying to hold something back that we think is bad. You know, I shouldn't be feeling this. I shouldn't be having this experience. And when that expansion happens, whatever is held in the feeling, you know, in the emotional experience with that aspect of it, rises to the surface and becomes clearer. So very often that part will then, the aspect that's having the problem, will then speak to us and say, you know, I've always felt like I never got enough blank, and I really want that. And so then as we align with the wanting of it and the acceptance and the acknowledgement of what's going on, then we're actually putting the signal into the universe to bring us what it is that we're wanting. You know, we're vibrating with the energy of that. So if we're, you know, wanting forgiveness, then just by saying that, we've already invoked, you know, energetically and spiritually the forgiveness that we're wanting, and we can allow ourselves to begin to imagine it and amplify it and really enjoy it.
Right.
And at a certain point, because we're talking about spiritual qualities here, we're talking about states of being that we felt were, on some level, we believe that they were outside of our ability, outside of our experience, they weren't safe, that they weren't for us, you know, for other people, but not for us. As we begin to imagine them, we're drinking them in and becoming filled up with those things. And at a certain point, we realize, you know, we're not fragmented or deficient in any way. We do have what we need, and then we, you know, we identify with that much more strongly.
Well, I've been working with Ellen on self-forgiveness. That's the healing code that Ellen gave me recently that I've been working with. And it's been very interesting because when I called her and said, you know, I need some shift and change, and I said, oh gosh, my self-esteem needs improvement. She goes, no, this is not about self-esteem. This is about self-forgiveness, because it's so easy to beat myself up. Oh, why did I make that choice? How could I be so stupid? And, you know, although I know I, quote unquote, shouldn't do that, that is a natural response, it seems, for when I get frustrated about how events turn out. And so, in particular, when Ellen did the code, as soon as she said that and said, you know, put your hands on your jaw. What are we doing here? Okay. You know what? We need to go to a commercial break. We'll be right back. We'll go more detail with Spirituality Rocks. We're having a little audio program here in just a moment with Spirituality Rocks. We'll be right back.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
Are you planning an event and want to include entertainment, but you're not sure where to turn? Act1Entertainment.net has provided over 1,500 events with quality, affordable live entertainment at private parties, corporate affairs, festivals, bike rallies, and more. Act 1 will fit into your budget. They're friendly, reliable, and do all the legwork for you. They take all major credit cards. Log on to Act1Entertainment.net for a free, no-obligation price quote, or call 631-758-3505 for a brochure. You'll be happy you did.
Guys, ready for the show? Yeah. Enjoy it.
Dad, where do babies come from?
Well, there's that big, shiny rocket ship. That's right, it's filled with babies of all kinds. And when the shiny rocket ship penetrates, Mommy and Dad goes, and when the time is just right, there's a space launch.
All systems go.
Babies of all kinds, released all over the place. Yeah, Africa. Mommy's Babylandia. That's right, it's filled with babies. After an amazing 9 months, babies. And that, son, is where babies come from.
But Jake said babies come from
Planet. Babylandia.
You go, play with us on the bus.
The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round.
Wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner.
Put that into the law.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns. Delighted to be filming live from Madhouse Studios in Deer Park, Long Island. We have with me on the set the Reverend Kathy Caputo. She is from the Center for Spiritual Living in Hicksville, New York. Joined us on the sofa is Tom Mealy. He's the producer and owner of Madhouse TV. And in the studio, we have Tommy Marr, who we may actually figure out how to get on camera, because we're going to do a demo of healing with Ellen Kratka, who is with us, joining us via Skype. Ellen is a Yun Method practitioner as well as a Healing Codes practitioner, and you can reach Ellen at resultsbeyondbelief.com. As I was saying before the break is I've worked with Ellen, and I'm working right now on self-forgiveness. And what I noticed when I first spoke to Ellen about it, what happened was when she gave me a code and she said, hold your hand by your jaws. And what happened is I felt this rush of energy as if I was going to cry. And I felt my throat got really tight. And I told her, and she said, just breathe. And she began working on me, making these shifts that she does with her work. And then I also noticed that then I felt really cold, and I noticed all these sensations. And what Ellen said was just do notice them. Allow them to come up and allow them to work with them. And so with that in mind, I'm wondering if we could do a sample right now. So we have two people in the studio who both have back issues. Can we work with them at the same time? We're going to take one. What can we do here? Ellen? Ellen, can you hear me?
You've gotten fainter, and there was some background noise. Maybe try again, because now the background noise just went away.
Okay. I said we have two people in the studio. Tommy and Tom
Right.
both have challenges with their backs and issues with that. So what could we do to start that process?
Well, what I would do is I usually start with I ask what the primary cause is, and I don't have to ask that out loud, because I'm actually asking their energetic being. So let's see, do we want to work on them both at the same time in terms of what's in common, or does one person want to volunteer to tell me what's changed? Because each situation is individual and slightly different.
What do you say?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what you're asking me, but what's changed is what you're asking?
No. I haven't done anything yet.
Oh, okay.
What I'm asking is who would like to volunteer to be the person I work with?
Tommy's pointing at me, so I guess I will.
Okay, so Tom, not Tommy, is that correct?
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay, so you're having some back pain right now?
Yes.
Okay, what makes it the worst? When you do what?
I guess prolonged standing.
Okay. So then what I do, and you don't have to say anything, I'm just telling you what I am doing. I'm kind of letting people in on what I would be inquiring silently or telepathically of their field, is I ask, what is the primary cause of that? And I'm getting that, which just means the first layer of cause, the one I need to address now, and then another primary cause will reveal itself, and another until we're done. And sometimes there's just one or two, and sometimes there are many. So we'll work with a few, and we'll see what's going on. So, and I'm going to give a little bit more information than I might give in other circumstances, but I also, at the same time, I'm feeling into energetically where those turned off switches are so that we can already begin turning some of them on. So, yeah, there's already been a lot of movement. I don't know if you can feel anything. We're working pretty quickly here. So, again, when I ask what is the primary cause in this moment, silently, I'm hearing that it's on the level of spiritual influence, and that it's coming from your children. And do you have children in your current experience?
Yes.
Yeah, I have children. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a connection. There's something I'm getting that you're concerned about with one of them in particular. And so that's affecting your back because you're feeling kind of the weight of the world on you. So now in acknowledging that, you're releasing that. Then if I ask again, okay, what is the next primary cause? And I'm getting the next one to be dealt with is on a physical level, and it has to do with your, just give me a second to feel into it. It's on the level of your organs, that there's a lack of integration among some of your organs, kind of like they're not getting along well with each other. Oh. And specifically, we're talking about the your prostate gland. I hope you don't mind that I'm giving this as an example.
No, you can go deep.
And if I'm saying too much, please forgive me.
Okay.
And 3 of the other organs.
Okay.
So let me just, and actually before I was feeling things happening in the lower abdomen, and the lower abdomen always relates to either the elimination system or the reproductive system or both. And of course the prostate is something very commonly in men that starts to develop weakness because of pressures on men in terms of their lives. So we're now, I'm feeling into the particular switches related to that, and the causes of that, the causes for the lack of communication between your reproductive system and some of the other organs of the body are non-physical. There's a sense, the next primary cause I'm getting for that is a sense of limitation, something in your life perhaps that you would like to be doing and you feel you can't be doing, in some way feeling that you're limited.
Okay.
So, and there's also some phobia that you're holding in your body, which is, a phobia is just a more imprinted fear. So it's something that has an older cause and it's existing at a subconscious level of awareness.
Could that be from a past life?
We tend to think of phobias as specific things, but it could be a phobia around anything. It's just more deeply imprinted.
Could that be from a past life, Ellen?
Yes, in this case it is. Not necessarily, but yes, in this case it is.
Okay.
And a lot of things, I mean, we were talking more before about the things that we don't recognize. So many of those things are things that are in us that are coming from other lifetimes. So, of course, we wouldn't think to look at them because we're not, we don't have those conscious memories for the most part. But those things, all of the experiences that happened in every one of our lifetimes and everyone who we were connected with at any lifetime in their lifetimes, energy has no limits. So we're feeling all of that, and all of that can have effects in our system. Okay. The main place I'm feeling weakness actually is in the sacral area of your spine, which is, the lower back. Mm-hmm. And right now I'm just going to do a little bit of turning some switches on. There are a whole bunch of other causes for why they've been turned off. Okay, now I can feel the energy starting to flow into that area again.
Wonderful.
Okay, Now, if you'd like to move around a little bit, Tom, and tell me if it feels any different from how it felt before.
Stand up and sit down. Do you feel different from when we began?
I don't know.
Well, stand up.
You know,
and move a little bit.
I can still feel it, if that's what you're asking. Can I still feel the exact pinpoint of where the injury is? Yes, without a doubt. Does it feel the same way as that when I sat down? Yeah, unfortunately it does.
So you don't feel there's any change as a
No,
result of it?
Absolutely not. However, she hit on some very, very interesting topics. Just recently I found out that a bottom part of my intestinal wall has collapsed, and there's a blockage there. The other thing is that's really the only thing that I have wrong. When she said something about one of the family members, my daughter, I'm very concerned about her because she goes into this hibernation. So that's a big issue. But, my injury, came from a horse.
Oh.
I mean,
you fell off a horse?
No, I didn't fall. The horse threw me.
Oh.
And I blew out the T12 vertebrae and needed surgery to rebuild the vertebrae.
I see.
And cracked my tailbone in 3 places. Yeah. So, I mean, that's where all the pain is coming from. But she did hit on some things that I don't understand how she knew that.
Well,
let me say a couple of things.
Yes.
I couldn't hear all of that, but first of all, what happens with pain is that very often it is referred from other places than where we think it's coming from. And the weakness that we have may not be in exactly the same place where we had the injury, or it may be, but there could be other places of weakness and disconnection, energy blockage that are contributing to what's going on. So the first thing was when you said you were still feeling a lot of the same stuff, I felt down to your feet and I immediately could feel that the energy portals at the bottom of your feet where we're supposed to connect with the earth were closed. And that can create a lot of sense of strain on the body. I also got, when you said about the horse throwing you, that actually the T12 is not weak at this moment. So that particular vertebra where you were told that, that moved or whatever, that's not the weakest area. You actually have more weakness at T11. So that's what I would continue to work on, what is holding that.
She's absolutely right. Yeah, I gotta tell you, you're absolutely right.
I'm continuing to talk.
Because
but the other thing is that, again, it's not so much the injury. We think it's the injury that causes the problem. But the body has remarkable abilities to heal and recover. The reason why we still have effects afterwards is because of something, a pre-existing weakness, or energetic glitch that the experience triggered. And it's very interesting that you talked about being thrown from the horse.
Right.
Because what I was getting was that you had an experience in you coming from the collective consciousness of having been blown up.
Wow. Ellen, we have about 30 seconds left of airtime. I want to thank you so much. I think it's absolutely outstanding and fascinating that you pinpointed so many particular things that have been of concern to Tom. Ellen's website is resultsbeyondbelief.com, resultsbeyondbelief.com. And I invite you to contact Kathy Caputo. She's at the Center for Spiritual Living. What's the website?
It's ReligiousScienceLongIsland.com.
ReligiousScienceLongIsland.com. If you want to get in contact with me, you can just email me at Janine@mindspring.com, JANINE@mindspring.com. Next week, I have the fantastic Steve Albert. He wrote the Interfaith Manual. He wrote Reboot for Success. He'll be with us on Skype. And he's with the affiliated New Thought Network. The following week, we have Dr. Harry Morgan Moses. I invite you to check out all the other shows on Madhouse TV, where I know you'll find something that's just going to float your boat, as they say, because there's a lot of exciting things going around here. I thank all my guests today for this very, very juicy conversation, and I look forward to seeing you next week on Spirituality Rocks.
Thank you, all of you.